Yo, welcome back to my channel. Listen, as always, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're back. And please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And of course, please be sure to hit that bell notification so that way you can be notified anytime I upload. I have literally tried to film this video like 5 times. Literally. The first time I did it, I was just like not comfortable on camera. I'm still a new YouTuber, so I still have my moments where I'm like, not comfortable. And when you on this camera, you want to be comfortable. So I had somebody try to edit it. It was all over the place. And then I did it again. The lighting wasn't right. So I was just like, whatever. But here we go. So I wanted to come on here, as you can tell by the title. And I just wanted to talk about men deserve reciprocity too. Let's get into it. All right, so I originally wanted to do this. Video probably about a while ago when I saw this tweet. It says, "Men, it's okay to quit on a female who's not even trying. You deserve effort too. I don't care if she got a kid, what goals she's chasing. Just like you have to multitask, so do these beloveds." So I saw that and I was just like, and it got me going about this whole topic of men deserving reciprocity. I think that we as society, and when I say we as society, I mean, from families, from preachers, from pastors, from content creators, motivational speakers, relationship gurus, painters, bakers, candlestick makers. I just think society as a whole has done a good job with, prepping women to not tolerate certain things. It's like, if he don't do this, queen, then you shouldn't do this. And if he ain't doing this, then you shouldn't do that. And of course, with the exception of, certain toxic spaces on YouTube and other outlets, I really feel like there hasn't really been anybody around that encourages men to have boundaries as well. Originally, when I did this video first, it was mostly in the form of a story time. It really wasn't much to tell for real, but I wanted to pretty much tell about the message behind the story. Long story short, about 3 weeks ago, I was out with one of my friends. Well, he's a co-worker who, who's turned into a friend. I was out with him and his girl, and we went to this, this wine and jazz bar, and it was a good night. It was a good night. Drinks and vibes were flowing. And make a long story short, there was this girl who was there who I thought was, attractive. And I approached her. Walked up to her. We had great conversation that night. We started the process of getting to know each other, and the conversation went well. Make a long story short, we exchanged numbers, and I started to notice a pattern that she would do this thing where she would take a long time to respond. I would text her and she would, take hours to respond, and a few times she kind of just stopped texting mid-conversation, and it was just kind of, we really didn't get anywhere. And so eventually that went on for a while, where it kind of got worse, and she began to acknowledge like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not a good communicator, I do apologize." And so that went on for a while, and so eventually I was just like, yeah, I'm about to cut this off, and I gave her a couple chances. And after a while, we had made plans to link up. This was going to be, I guess, the first date situation. And it was like no effort on her part. Like no effort on her part. She canceled at the last minute, and I just wasn't interested in rescheduling. And so I haven't hit her up since. And so I say all that to say, if you don't know anything about me, and if you're just on my channel, I am a 32-year-old single guy who's out here, you know what I'm saying? I'm out here trying to find me one, and I'm not really like, pressing for marriage at this point. If you know me, then you know that that's kind of total opposite. Like, I'm not ready to go in that, that direction where I'm trying to get married, next week or something like that. But I'm trying to find one to rock with. I'm trying to date intentionally. I'm trying to date with a purpose, and to meet somebody where I can, build with, grow in God with, have fun, travel with, and go after our goals with, and then eventually get down to that road of, changing the last name for the missus, or future missus. So in that journey of doing so, one thing I do not tolerate is interacting with women who do not communicate well. It's a big turnoff for me. If you have watched my story time, I did a story time last year entitled "She Wasn't Interested." I don't do well with girls who play the whole, hey, I text you and I take forever to text back, or, you know, I text you and you give me one word answers, or I text you and the conversation is dry and you're not engaging. Like, I don't do well with that at all, because what that says to me is you're not interested. Like, and what that says to me is that when you have that low engagement and that low energy like that, it just says that you're not interested, or you're not interested, or you have low interest. And I just feel like it is not my job to raise your interest. Like, either we come with matched energy or you don't come at all, you know? Like, listen, I'm 32. I ain't got time to be out here talking about, well, let's just take it slow and go with the flow. Listen, you coming to work at the Target with me tomorrow or not? So that's just what I'm on, you know what I'm saying? Let's get this thing going. So anyway, during that process, it was the same thing, you know, and I wasn't getting what I wanted. And it brought me back to this whole thing of men. Like, it is so imperative that we also have things that we just don't tolerate. And so for me, I don't tolerate a woman who don't text back, you know, during this certain time frame. I don't tolerate a woman who wastes my time and you know, kind of give low effort. And when we meet up, you know, it's kind of like, oh, I'll try. Like, I don't tolerate that at all. And let me just say, it is 2022. And although we are progressive, and although this is 2022, I still think it is suitable for a man to pursue. I still think it is very suitable for a man to initiate and to approach. I still think it is very suitable for a man to make plans and to take the lead. But in the spirit of pursuing, I think we have kind of mixed up the message that to pursue means I gotta chase, I gotta beg, and I gotta put in maximum efforts with minimum results. And that's not it at all. We're raising up a generation of men that feel like, oh, I gotta beg, I gotta press, and I gotta apply pressure. But that ought to come back to you as well. And I wanted to talk to my guys today, like, bro, like that energy got to come back to you as well. Like, you can put it out, but you know, you can plan the date, but bro, she got to show up. Like, you can initiate the text, but bro, she got to come back with great conversation. Like, you can do certain things, but there has to be some type of indication, like, hey, that this is working and that we're progressing and that we're moving to the next step. And so I'm not telling you, like, to my guys that's watching, I'm not saying that men shouldn't approach women. I'm just saying that you have got to know when it's working and you have got to know when it's not. And you have got to know what you require. Like, you have got to know, like, hey, I require a girl that's interactive, a girl that responds in a, you know, in a certain way. I require a girl that puts in the same effort that I am putting in. I know our generation is like, we're so kind of hung up on this, you know, well, I don't owe you nothing. If I get your number, you know, I don't owe you to text you back. I don't owe you to respond in a certain amount of time. I don't owe you this. You never hear previous generations talk about they don't owe nobody nothing when it comes to a man meeting a woman. And I know, I get it. Like, we say all the time, like, oh, that person don't owe you nothing. That person don't owe you. Like, we say it like it's money. And I get it. Your time is valuable, which is why I value mine to not be played with. So, yeah, you don't owe that nobody nothing. But my response to that would be, if we're saying it like it's money, like you don't owe anybody nothing, my response to that would be, when did we become so stingy with courtesy? Like, when did we become so stingy with decency? Like, I'm sorry, maybe I don't know what y'all millennials and Gen Z are on. Like, maybe I come from a different time, but I just think it is tacky to take somebody's number, to engage in conversation with them, and text back 5 and 6 hours later, or the next day, or to listen. If you listen, and I know people are gonna take an issue with this, but if you are 45 and up, I'll give you a pass. But if you are in your 30s, your early 30s like myself, and your late 20s, like, ain't no excuse for you to talk about, but I don't communicate like that. I suck at this. Listen, we are in our 30s and 20s. Everybody got a phone. Look, the world, half of the world is ran off of phones right now. Listen, if you was to leave your phone tomorrow morning and you was to drive on the highway, you would turn right back around and go back and get that sucker. Like, that's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? So I don't look at my phone. I don't see the, like, to me, that's cap. Like, it's cap. Like, so that's my issue. When I meet a girl and I feel like the energy is mutual and the conversation is going well through text, I always try to go for, hey, let's hop on the call. Let's hop on the call. Let me FaceTime you real quick. So then from there, we're planning to meet up in person. I just don't believe it should be 3 weeks and 2 weeks later, and we're still on the phone texting, talking about tell me your favorite color and where you grew up. No, like it ought to be a natural progression. I say all the time, when you are out here dating, to my guys, you got to know what you require. Like you got to know, like, hey, this don't work for me. Like how you speak to me don't work for me. Like the effort, the non-efforts that you're putting in, that don't work for me. And sometimes that has to be communicated. Like I, at 32, just think I shouldn't have to communicate to you, hey, like the girl that I met at the lounge, she kept saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a horrible texter, I'm sorry. With this particular girl, she actually texted me and was like, oh, I suck at communication. How do you prefer us to communicate? And so my thought was, hey, that's a grown woman question. Like I appreciate that, because I'm automatically gonna come back and say, hey, I prefer to talk on the phone, and I mean I prefer let's link up. What's my preference? My preferred method of communication is, hey, I'm outside. Like, you know what I'm saying? Send me that address. You know what I'm saying? But you know that's just my preference. But I said to her, she actually texted me that next day we met and was just like, hey, what's your preferred method of communication? And I said to her, I mean, I can do texting, you know, but I prefer a phone call or FaceTime. And she literally FaceTimed me that night. And I know somebody's gonna say, well, what happened? What happened from there is she would call me and then I would hit her up. Every time I would call, she wouldn't answer. We had scheduled a call and she was like, oh, I got to do some work. 9 times out of 10, if I didn't text her, she wouldn't hit me up, which, I mean, I get it. Like, you know, a lot of women expect for the guy to initiate, but it was just like the slow text messages, you know, the missed calls. One time I called her and the next day, oh, I'm sorry, I was at my friend's house. So basically cause I get it that people are busy and I get it, you know, but I kind of felt like she had something going on. I don't even know, but I think she had game to her, but that's a whole nother thing. I don't know, but it was just always something. Like we couldn't really communicate. There was always like, oh, hey, we made plans. Oops, but I canceled. Oh, let's get on the call. Oops, I can't. And it was just like, then when we would text, it was like the text would come back 4 hours and 5 hours later, and then the next day, and then she would stop texting and text me and stop texting me, and then would text me the next day. And for me, that's not what I require. Like I ain't got time for that. Like that's not what I do. It brought me back to this whole thought of that day when she asked me, how do you like to communicate? Because sometimes when you have these boundaries and you have these requirements and you have these non-negotiables, sometimes it has to be communicated. Like, hey, it has to be communicated. Like, you know, like to adults, like, hey, this is what I like. Or, because for me, I just think I shouldn't have to communicate to another adult, you know, that, hey, when we communicate, I kind of would expect you to kind of, you know, to be decent about it, to like communicate, you know, to not, you know, BS. But when it comes to other things, such as like maybe you need space, like maybe your requirement is, I don't like clinginess in this stage of my dating. I don't like clinginess because when it comes to me, listen, where we at? Like, where you at? Like, come on, pull up. Like, I'm pulling up. That's where I am in my dating stage. But maybe with the other person, your requirement may be space. Like, hey, I need space. When this happens, I need space. And so maybe you have to communicate that. So that's a big thing. So it's not always about like cutting people off or, you know, doing away with, but sometimes, you know, what you require and what you're not willing to tolerate, maybe it has to be communicated. I don't know. Anybody that knows me know I used to be obsessed with divorce court. Like I used to binge watch divorce court probably about like 7 or 8 years ago because I was still in my last relationship then. But I used to binge watch divorce court, and I remember there was this episode of divorce court where Judge Lynn, she was talking to this couple, and the guy was, you know, kind of not doing right. Like he was kind of not doing what the girl wanted him to, and I think she was young. And so Judge Lynn told her, began to tell the girl like how she shouldn't put up with this and how she shouldn't put up with that and how she needs standards and boundaries. And so Judge Lynn told her, went on to say, when she was in her 20s, she would fire dudes. Like, you know, if her and the dude made plans to meet up at 7 o'clock and the dude showed up at 7:03, Judge Lynn told her, said she would fire him. Like she would be done with him. And so Judge Lynn was like, you know, if a dude said he was gonna call me and he didn't, he called me the next day, he was fired. You know, if a guy said he was gonna do this and he didn't do that, if he did something, if he didn't walk the way I wanted him to walk, I would fire him. And of course you got people like, yes, queen, go ahead, queen, do that, go ahead, queen. And I begin to think about that, and I'm like, that is true, okay, cool, you know your boundaries. But I begin to think about that, and I begin to think like, Guys, we don't have that encouragement. Like, we don't have that encouragement to do so. And the reason being is because, for two reasons. Number one is because it is expected for the guy to be the one crossing and overstepping boundaries and not doing right. So it's just like, you know, it's expected for the guy to be out here messing up and to not be intentional and to not do things properly. So of course, that message is not going to be towards men, because the guys like myself who's trying to do the right thing and have, you know, who's out here, you know, dating intentionally. I guess the world see it as far few and in between. So of course that message is not going to be widely encouraged to men. And then number two is because what men tolerate, like the negative stuff from women that play games and do all the trickery and stuff, it is kind of categorized and pushed under the category of, I mean, hey, you made a date with a girl and she flaked on you, she played games. I mean, man, that just comes with pursuing. I mean, you met a girl, she take 5 hours to text back. I mean, that's just how it is when you approach a girl. Text her again, text her 2 more times. I mean, and it's just like, no, like we have to do away with that whole notion of, because you are a man that's pursuing, you have to, you know, put up with anything just to get the smallest or the smallest amount of results from a girl. Like, we have to do away with that. So I just wanted to do this video because I just wanted to tell my fellow brothers that, man, you are valuable. Like, your time is valuable. Like, you do not have to put up with a girl who plays games, who comes off as not interested. It is not your job to raise that girl's interest. Like, it is not. Like, if you sense like, yeah, I there's something that she do that I don't like, yeah, I'm a quit. Like, I deserve effort too. Like, yes, we as men, we are the pursuers, we are the hunters, we are the ones approaching, but fellow king, you deserve reciprocity too. The things that you put out, like the effort that you're putting into her, you deserve that. You know, you deserve that. You deserve effort and you deserve reciprocity too. That's all I got. Listen, if you like this video, listen, please be sure to like and to comment your thoughts. I got something on my shirt. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and to comment your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking. And I will catch y'all in the next video.